In this video, traders, we're going to look at advanced chart pattern metrics. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. Alright, so advanced chart pattern metrics sounds like a mouthful, but it'll become clear in a minute what I'm talking about. This video is really to promote a bit of a discussion on it. It's a new kind of way or an extra way of looking at things that perhaps you haven't considered before, but really the question I'm going to ask you at the end of the video, and appreciate your comments in the comment section below. The answer to this is, does it really matter? So does it really matter what we're about to look at? Okay, so what are advanced chart pattern metrics? What does it all mean? All right, let me get a different color pen out. We've got a green, that'll do. What have I got? Red. What a surprise, I've been drawing candles. So the advanced chart pattern metrics are this. If you think, and we take a standard double top pattern, right? We know what a double top is. It's pretty self-explanatory. One test, next test. This can be applied, by the way, to multiple things. But most people consider a double top's a double top a double top. The only thing that you consider of is where it's happened, the time frame, etc., etc. But there are some other things that we could look at which we might not have considered. Now, most people have probably considered this, i.e. the distance between the two peaks. All right, so that could be something to consider. Most people have probably considered that. So that's the first thing, because listen, that wider double top compared to that is a lot different, right? We could say that if the sense of urgency is, going back up immediately and testing it, that in my opinion, that wouldn't be as strong as that to take a short, because I wouldn't want to see it snapping straight back up. I want to see a longer period where bears had a lot more control over it before it rolled over again. I wouldn't want to see down up, because to me that feels like it's just a first rejection that's about to go again. So there's that. The other things that you might not have thought of is the width of the peaks. So we've got these peaks here. How wide are they? In this case, it's kind of very, very small. This one's a little bit bigger, but those are much wider. And how do you assess that? Is it okay, multiple touches within one big touch? How many wicks through before it rolls over? And what weighting do you give to that? Do you give it more weighting for the short side if it's longer? Or do you give it more weighting to the short side if it's shorter? On the face of it, just literally thinking of it now, I would give that more weighting. The fact it's rejected immediately. But there could be an argument that could say, well, if we're consolidating there and then we're rejecting, we've already sucked in a lot of buyers that are going to have to come out and are going to be pretty much disappointed by that. So that's something to think about as well. The other thing is the distance of the trough or the valley, however you want to kind of talk about it, whatever you want to call it, should I say. What's that distance there? In this scenario, it's very, very brief. Few minutes, few days, whatever time frame we're on. In this scenario, it's built over a long period of time. So again, how do we analyze that? What weighting do we put on that? Do we decide that that's bullish? Do we decide that that's bearish? Does that add more weight to the trade or less weight to the trade? And those of you grading trades is super, super important. But is this another metric we need to add? Is this something we need to consider before grading our trade or deciding whether to take the trade or not? So there's that. So there's the distance between there. There's also the distance between. There's also the one that we may well have considered regularly is this distance. So the distance from kind of peak all the way to trough. Now that's probably something we've considered before, as is that distance there. But what do we want from that? How low is that okay? A double top is a double top, but is that still a double top? Well, yeah. Well, is this still a double top? Well, yeah, in hindsight it is, but would you really be happy shorting it on such a small down move? I don't think I would. I'd be thinking, well, the bears haven't really got control of this. That's not that great. But then you could say, well, if it's too far, have they now got a run up? It should have been rejected on number one. It shouldn't be rejected again. So do I now, if it goes too far down and the excursion from high to valley, from peak to trough is too big, I need to be careful and look for a signal on the way down, on the back end of the move, as opposed to stepping in front of the train. All sorts of different things to consider, guys. And not to overcomplicate this, and the last thing we want is to make things overcomplicated as traders, but This helps us refine our strategies a lot better. And with just this simple double top strategy, we can say, okay, well, what do we want to see? What's the perfect scenario for the market we're trading, for the conditions we're in, for the time we're trading, for the kind of time frame that we're trading, all those things. And we go, right, well, I would like to see this. I'd like to see a longer peak. I'd like to see a shallow trough. I'd like to see an excursion of here, this and here. And then you can go what's acceptable to the outer boundary right the way onto the inner boundary and say, well, if we get a trade that's within that and ticks all those boxes, then I'm going to look to trade it, then I'm going to get involved in it. So it's just something to think about, guys. Advanced chart pattern metrics. I think that we often don't take into account a lot of the kind of nuances that might give us a bit of a clue under the bonnet into the price action, into the supply and demand sentiment, and perhaps give us a little bit more of an edge over someone who's just taken the double top for granted and just taking it purely regardless of kind of some of the little inner workings that happen on the way there, the way down, the way back, and the subsequent back end move. All right, guys, if you like this kind of stuff, you want to see more of it, thumbs up appreciated. Take care. Bye-bye.